Forget Portmore, it's time for the Clarendon Derby. The JPL is returning to the compound for the first time in years, and there might be a new king in England soon. All this and more on this Match Week 3 preview show. Yes, welcome back to JPL Fan, and we are here to show you guys what's happening for this upcoming weekend of fixtures. Match Week 3 is upon us, and believe it or not, it's time for another derby already. So let's not waste any time and get straight into it. Last weekend victory against Molynes United had very Phoenix United brass jumping for joy, and they'll be hoping to get the community joining them when they take on fierce rivals Harbour. What was noticeable in that game against Molynes for Veer is that the young boys are looking good, but that balance between attack and defense definitely needs some work. And that despite the likes of Ling and Carlton Brown playing so well, but they definitely have some issues defending in transition. Also, with Mona High basically qualified already for the next round in the Molynes Cup, they should have their full complement of players for this game. As for Harbour, they started their campaign off with a back-to-back home draws, and they look very solid in defense thanks to Dookie tactics, but they will need more punch in attack. Still no word if big money summer signee Bushy Bedford will make his debut this Sunday, as he has not been a part of the squad in their first two opening fixtures. They may really need him as well, as Harbour has only scored one goal in their two matches and they're looking a bit lifeless up front. But this is one fixture Harbour might raise them game for. Again, it is the Clarendon Derby, and last year the neighbour traded wins. Harbour won 3-0 at Effortville, while Veer Phoenix United, or Veer United back then, won 2-1 at the Wembley Centre of Excellence. So what would happen this time when the fierce Clarendon Derby kicks off at 3 PM at the Wembley Centre of Excellence? We move on to a big return of the JPL back to the compound. Harbour will be taking up Molynes United at the Harbourview Mini Stadium, and more than just the fact that this is a big homecoming for the Harbourview faithful, is the fact that Harbour are absolutely buzzing after their big victory in Montego Bay Monday night. It took brilliant attitude and commitment to get that win in Mobay, and in reducing the Mobay team to only one goal will do wonders for Palmer's confidence in goal. I still think that attack needs a bit more synergy, but across the trunk is definitely settling well, and their defense are looking much better. And they will need to keep it compact as the Molynes are coming into town. One thing Molynes have showed all of last year, and probably in their first game against Veer, they do know to cause some headache in defense when they're attacking. But they need to solve their own finishing problems. Still can't believe Jason Wright missed last week Sunday, but he has too much pedigree to believe he's going to miss like that again. But as usual, Molynes' issue would always still come down to that defense. And despite all well Germans played in midfield along with Javon Brown, that defense will be tested once more, I believe, when they travel to the compound. As for their records, Molynes has not lost to Harbourview since April 2022, and while Harbourview has not kept a clean sheet in 3 matches against Molynes United, we will see this time if they can pull it off. Last season as well, the records showed that Harbourview and Molynes traded 2-2, and if you remember that game, that Molynes had a 2-0 lead and ended up squandering to Harbourview towards the death, as well as Harbourview also lost 1-0 to Molynes in the reverse fixture. So this is not necessarily a slam dunk for Harbourview despite returning to the compound, but they will be confident when they take on Molynes United at Harbourview Mini Stadium at 3 PM this Sunday. We move on to another decent big clash of the weekend, and that be Waterhouse taking on Cavalier at the Anthony Sporting Complex. Waterhouse got extra training in when they had to sit idly by when they missed the second round of fixtures due to the game with Mount Pleasant being postponed, but they are ready to go again, and they will take on a Cavalier team that has wear and tear in them legs. This will be Cavaliers' basically 4th game in 2 weeks, and that's already with a busy schedule start way back in August. It will be interesting to see if they can keep the fire going when they take on Waterhouse. Cavalier will also have a big game in the CCC against Arnett in the midweek, so their squad will definitely be tested. As for Waterhouse, there's still no Andre Fletcher, but thanks to this training picture from in the middle of the week, they should have Javier Bryant back, at least maybe on the bench. As for Cavalier, they might have some issues in defense. Their captain Richard King picked up 2 yellow cards and a red card in the midweek match against Harbour, so he's out and already leave a depleted backline in need of more reinforcements. Anyways, look at their records from last year. Cavalier actually came away from Jewsland with a 1-0 victory and was held by Firehouse to a 1-1 draw in the reverse fixture. So it should be another tight affair when both Waterhouse and Cavalier meet up at 5 p.m. at the Anthony Spalding Complex this Sunday. In the final game on Sunday, it will be the host team returning into JPL action when they take on Racing United for their first ever official meeting. Racing United has been the talk of the town as they have shown in their first 2 games that there will be no pushover despite being new to the league. They have showed great resilience as well as good compact togetherness, especially in defense, in their first games against Waterhouse as well as their second game against Molynes. They will need that against one of the best attacks in the league, as Arnett will again be loading up their front 3 to try to break down a sturdy defense. The only problem here is that Arnett has been playing a lot of matches in the CCC, including one grueling one in the midweek against Real Hope of Haiti. Another concern for them as well is that despite the great form of Warner Brown, Parker Blacks himself has not been part of the match day recently, so we are still awaiting word if he will be a part of this squad. While Racing should have no issue with their squad. I believe everybody is healthy and raring to go, so expect the likes of Ellis, Biggs, Brown to all ready to go again. Sets everything up for a good game. Expect attack versus defense where Arnett Guns host Racing United at the Anthony Spalding Complex this Sunday at 7:30 p.m. But what about the Monday Nighters? Chapter Maroons are very impressive in their win on opening day against Harbour. I will look to keep the good times rolling against a Molynes team that is probably full of anger. Chapter in that match showed what Bigger Thompson is working on, and they will hope to try to keep their position style and playing out of the back against a Montego Bay United team who basically does a similar thing. While Molynes have to try to forget what happened on Monday night in the game against Harbour. Sure, the referee decisions throughout the entire game never necessarily go their way, but they have to quickly forget about that, because if you underestimate the Chapperton Maroon team, they may end up losing back-to-back games. While Chapperton can use a bit of what Harbour did, look to disturb the passing game and rhythm of Molynes in that midfield, you might stand a good chance of getting a positive result. So it sets everything up well to see what happens. As for their head-to-head records, you have to go way back to the 2022-2023 season, where both of their matches ended in a 0-0 and a 1-1 draw respectively. So these guys have a history of close encounters, so it's all to play for when Chapperton Maroons play home to Montego Bay United at the Anthony Spalding Complex 5 p.m. this Monday night. As for the final game of the round, it should be a doozy, is Portmore taking on Tivoli Guns. Many could say Portmore had the hardest start to this JPL season, playing the last 2 finalists back-to-back, but now they will take on a team that finished 3rd in the table last year. The return of Romero Guthrie last time out helped tremendously in terms of the playmaking and control of that midfield, but they will still need some more from Stephen Barnett up top to get them more goals against a Tivoli team that don't really give up much goals in return. As for Tivoli, the same issues they have last year comes up again. Sometimes they have issue breaking up a resolute defense, as they saw against Humble Lion, as a lot is placed on the shoulders of Justin Dunn to sometime find an answer. Jerome Wade had a great season in charge of Tivoli last year, but one thing he could be criticized for is that maybe when plan A fails, he doesn't deserve a plan B, and he may need to find one to get past at this Portmore team this Monday night. As for their records, Portmore has not lost to Tivoli in a whopping 7 matches, and that could be clearly displayed in their matchup last year where they both ended in a 0-0 draw. So again, this should be another tight encounter when Portmore takes on Tivoli Guns 7:30 p.m. at the Anthony Spalding Complex this Monday night. So yeah, so that's all the fixtures here for this upcoming weekend, and before I get to my prediction, let's get through a bit of news as well as the community poll. First up, I did drop hints at it in the early part of the video, but Cavalier did play a match in the midweek where they traveled to Clarendon to take on Humble Lion in a reschedule of their match of the opening weekend. The game did end in 1-1 after Kylie Avery gave Cavalier the lead in the early part of the game, but were pegged back by the Lions captain O'Day Murray in the last kick of the game and draw it 1-1. As for CONCACAF Caribbean Cup news, Arnett Gardens drew 0-0 at home against Real Hope, while Mount Pleasant also drew in their Group A match against Police FC in Trinidad. So this means that Arnett Gardens are officially out of the competition, and Mount Pleasant must now win against Real Hope on Thursday to join Cavaliers, who have officially made it to the semi-finals. Alright, in our final news item here, Reggae Boys defender Richard King could soon be on the move to England, with news emerging he's being monitored by 4 English Premier League teams. According to the British website HITC, the 6'2" centre-back is likely to be viewed as an investment for the future and a solid rotation option for West Ham's side that include the Jamaica international teammate Mikel Antonio, who are looking to return to European competition and fight on multiple fronts. So it is stated that West Ham have the inroad on this deal, but the likes of Brighton, Newcastle and Aston Villa are also in the mix. Alright, so that is all for the news item. Let's get to the community poll before we get to our predictions for this week. The poll question I posed this time was, with the controversy surrounding some calls in the JPL last weekend, do you believe referee match reports should be made public? Not surprisingly, 88% of you guys said yes, while 12% said no. Again, this is something that I feel that is an issue not just in Jamaica, but of course in almost every league in the world. Most people, especially after controversial calls, want some form of explanation or accountability from the referees after the game. And I, obviously as a football fan for many teams, would want the same. I mean, come on, I'm an Arsenal fan, and many times in recent past, I don't want some explanation. But I did ask this question to a former referee, and he was one of those who voted no, and he told me why. In his assessment, he stated that if these things were to be made public, the referee's safety and security might be an issue next time he ref a next game. He cited that fans are fans for a reason, and they might not look at the objectivity of a call because there will be a certain bias in their perception. Okay, on to the predictions quickly before we run out of here. For the first game, the Clarendon Derby, Vere versus Humble Lion. Vere showed in that game against Molynes that their attack is good, but they have issues defending in transition, while Humble Lion showed that they definitely have their defensive shape set down, but having issues going forward. So for this one, it might be Vere winning this one 2-1 over Humble Lion. Alright, for Harbour versus Molynes. Molynes have no issue attacking, it's just that defense needs to sort out. But they did, I felt, play better in that game against Vere and should be very confident going to Harbourview, a team they've not lost to in some time. While Harbourview should take that win over Montego Bay as a big confident booster and be ready to go for the first game in front of their home crowd at the compound. This might be a close affair, but I feel it's going to be coming down to another 2-2 draw between Harbourview and Molynes United. Waterhouse versus Cavalier. Cavalier again are on tired legs, will be without their captain and centerpiece in that centre back position, and with schoolboy football still going on, will be very thin in their squad. But this is a team that normally find a way to get results no matter who they play against, and with a Waterhouse team that we don't look decent for the most part against Racing, but found breaking them down in the last part a bit problematic, I feel that they will square each other out. I expect a Waterhouse 1, Cavalier 1. Arnett versus Racing now. Arnett versus Racing is going to be very intriguing. Racing showed that they can be resolute in defense no matter who they play against, but Arnett also showed that they're one of the best attacks in the league. But Arnett did come against two Caribbean Cup opponents that play similarly to how Racing will set up, and they struggle mightily. But with their fans behind them, I expect them to win this game. So I'm looking at Arnett 2, Racing United 1. Chapelton versus Montego Bay. Alright, Chapelton showed that they're definitely a good side when they get the chance to play, but that's just the question. Will Montego Bay give them the chance to do so? The same could be said for Montego Bay. They play similar styles, but you could say that they have the better players to do so. It should be a very close affair, but I think Moby will just edge it when they beat Chapelton Maroons 2-1. Portmore versus Tivoli. The last two times these two teams faced, they could not break down each other, and it was a 0-0. I still don't think Portmore have the requisite strikers in hand to break down a resolute Tivoli, and Tivoli, I feel, still don't got their legs underneath them yet in the league to finally find some chemistry to go the other way. So it might be very safe, might be very boring, but I also believe this will be a 0-0 draw. Alright guys, but that's what we're doing all for this Match Week 3 preview show. Thank you all again for watching, and if you like it, please go ahead and press that thumbs up button there, as well as subscribing. But for anything else in terms of great JPL content, you're already at the right place, Champion Fan. YouTube, big up yourself.